conflict is everywhere in every society, in every organization. So how do we put measures in place to make sure that this doesn't affect us in a very big way? So many people avoid conversations when it comes to conflict because they give excuses that they are trying to maintain peace, that it is going to solve itself, or it is not worth it for me to invest my time on it. But the reality is, you will bear with me that there are lots of conversations that you have moved away from, and when you come back, you will realize that it is because of this conversation that I lost this project. It is because I ignored this person. I didn't settle my differences with that person that I had to go this far, and we ignore these minor things and we don't put them into place. And that is why I've come to this episode, to make sure that we see how we can better resolve conflict, understand most importantly what conflict is, because so many people have a different mindset of what conflict is. When they hear about conflict, they think it's about fighting, it's about exchanging words with people, but there is more. We have positive conflict, we have negative conflict. There are conflicts that if you face them deep, you will end up realizing that you have brought something better in your team. So let's get into this episode and understand how we can better resolve conflict, how we can better maintain the peace in our team without avoiding conversations, thinking that it is going to solve itself. Conflict simply means that there is a difference in their expectation, there is a difference in their objective, there is a difference in their interest. That is what conflict usually means, which is okay. It is okay for you to have a different view from my own perspective. But if we come together as one, then we can resolve that and come up with a better idea. So you will realize that in this particular situation, conflict is good at that moment. But when people hear about conflict, they go with a different mindset. They think that, oh, people are fighting, people are shouting, there is aggression. No, that is not true. And when it comes to project management, there are some common mistakes that lead to conflict. That is unclear goals. People don't know what they have to do. Unrealistic deadlines. Deadlines are just clashing. There is lack of communication. You have not put things in place. You have not scheduled communication plan. Budgeting overrun, or there is lack of risk analysis. When you don't analyze what could possibly go wrong in your project, you will realize that conflict will always exist in that scenario. So you need to see conflict as enabling you to become a better version of who you are in your team, because people have a different understanding of what conflict is. Once you have been able to understand that conflict is about seeing from another person's perspective, seeing that person's interest, seeing that person's expectation, and then comparing it to your own, then coming it together to combine and come out with a better outcome, you become a better leader, you become a better project manager, and that is it. So let's move into some practical steps that we can use to make sure that we avoid conflict. So the first way that you can avoid conflict is addressing it immediately. Don't let your emotions derail you from your vision. One thing I've seen so many people doing is they take conflict for granted. They just avoid it, right? Because it is safer. It feels peaceful at the moment, but in the long run, it is going to affect your project. You need to make sure that once there is conflict, you should address it immediately. The second thing that you need to do is separate it from the problem. That is, separate the people from the problem. Don't say, oh, I've always known you to be late, I've always known you to always be the victim in arguments, in anything that goes wrong in this organization. Rather, you should see from their perspective, what is it that we can improve? Because if you don't address that early, it is going to affect your project. Because trust me, if you keep on blaming people in your project without separating the problem that you have, focusing on the issue, focusing on the problem, not on the person, you will see that it is much easier for you to resolve conflict in your team, which is going to give you a better understanding of your members and the problems that they have in that team, the problems that you have in your organization, if you focus more on the problems. The next thing that you have to do is listen more. As a leader, it is important for you to see from other people's perspective. It is important for you to listen to them, because when they feel heard, when they feel valued, when they feel like they are bringing something into this organization, they are likely going to expose themselves to you. And in that moment, that is where you make the difference. You can then come in and negotiate, or rather partner with other people to make sure that that conflict is well resolved. The next thing that you have to do is find a common goal. You know that if you're working on a project, the common goal is to make sure that that project is successful. Once you have been able to identify this goal, you can then focus on the goal. No matter what the conflict is, no matter what the breakdown is, you have to come up with a common goal. Always remember that this is what we want to achieve. If we are working together on this, then we have to bring in different opinions to better chip in towards a path that brings us to success. That is where common goal comes in, and it plays a very important role. Once you have put those things in place and understand that the goal is to make sure that this project is a success, you will see that people are not deviating towards a different trajectory, rather they are trying to focus on the goal. And this can only be done if you put the right systems in place. Once you have been able to resolve conflict to a certain level, you have to come to an agreement. Okay, this is what you have to do. This is the action that you are going to take. This is the responsibility that you have to make sure that it is resolved. Because if you don't come to a conclusion, if you don't come to an agreement, that conflict has not yet been resolved. There are chances that it is going to arise again, because you didn't come to a conclusion and you didn't follow up to make sure that those responsibilities are fully taken up. So the next time you get into conflict, I need you to see it from a perspective of resolving and coming up with solution. Don't go with trying to impress or trying to redirect people towards seeing your own perspective, because in that moment you are disengaging the team from balancing, from coming together, which is not good. As a leader, you have to put things in place to bring out solutions. And I need you to understand that no matter how hard you work, no matter how emotional you are never going to solve conflict if your goal is not to come up with a solution which is better for every other person and matches the organization. And as a leader, there is always going to be pressure. You don't need to take sides. You need to do what is right, the path that leads to the goal. That is why it is very important for you to always set a roadmap, a system that is going to help you achieve that goal. And if anything I've shared with you today resonated, if it sparked a thought, a question, or even just a feeling, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. That is going to show that what we share with you here makes a difference. And if you hit the like button, it is going to reach out to so many people. And I promise to you, alongside with my team, is to consistently build on leadership, project management, one conversation at a time. Thank you for being here.